Let's explore this flexible budgeting problem. You've been hired by FAB Corporation, I'm just reading here, right? The manufacturer of a new garage door opening device. The president has asked you to review the company's costing system and do what you can to get better control of the overhead costs. You find that the company has never used a flexible budget, and you suggest that preparing this type of budget, a flexible budget, would be an excellent first step. So after much effort and analysis, here's what you came up with. You looked at these 5 different areas of overhead, and you've determined the fixed variable breakout, right? So utilities had $16,700 of fixed costs every month, plus 14 cents per machine hour costs. And the actual cost in March were $21,580. And then you did the same analysis for all the other cost categories. Now you can see supplies only has a variable cost component, and depreciation only has a fixed. The other ones are mixed costs because there's elements of both. The fixed cost would be just a lump sum amount. The variable would only be a per machine hour cost. Okay, so during March, the company worked 20,000 machine hours and they produced 14,000 units. They originally planned to work 22,000 machine hours, and you want to complete this schedule here. So the actual is real simple. We're going to simply copy from above what we had. So 21,580 goes there, 76,000 comes from here. So just copy it, write down the 20,000. Now for the planned amount, you had to figure out what was the variable and fixed component. Well, here's the formulas off to the side, right? The 21,580 would have been 16,700 fixed plus 14 cents times the independent variable, which is machine hours. That's our cost formula. That's our mixed cost formula. We don't need one for supplies. It's 90 cents, and we don't need one from 68.3 for fixed. But actually, here's the formula for the 90-cent one. There's no fixed component. And for the fixed one for depreciation, right, it's all fixed costs. There's no variable cost component. Remember that the variable cost component is the one that has a number right next to the X representing machine hours, an independent variable. All right, so from there we should be able to fill this in, right? So how do we do that? Let me hit the F2 and you can see, take the $22,000 that was planned times the 14 cents, it's calculated here. I'm just applying this formula, right? Plus the 16.7. And you would do that for all of these, okay? So the fixed cost, you just jot in the number. And then compute the favorable or unfavorable variance. F is favorable, U is unfavorable. So these are costs. So if the costs are less than planned, it's favorable. And if they're more than planned, it's unfavorable. So you figure out just the differences as you go through them, and you come up with the total. Okay, then the next thing it wants to know is what's the activity variances. Now, activity variances mean take the flexible budget and compare it to the planned budget. I have to tell you, in the real world, I've never done this. I've actually hardly done part 0, and I'll indicate later which ones is what commonly gets done in the real world. Okay, so now that we have the flexible budget, we want to calculate, we have the flexible budget formula. We want to now generate the flexible budget for the actual production levels that we earn. It was 20,000, so we're going to go through the same thing, only now we're going to apply the formulas based on producing 20,000 units. And then plan, we just copy from this column. So column I, you can see the column up at the top is just simply copied from column E. There's column E up at the top, okay? And then compute your favorable and unfavorable variances. Okay, total them at the bottom. So now we want to calculate spending variances. And this is what I have done in the real world many times, and this is what I think is done in the real world many times. We compare actual to flexible at the 20,000 level. Well, at this point, we've computed the actuals here from here so you can jot them in, and we've produced these flexible budget numbers from here. So put those in there and compute the favorable, unfavorable variances and sum them, okay? And that's how you work through this particular type of problem. Well, this is how you do flexible budgeting. Then, of course, this is just the quantitative portion. The art form comes in when you try to figure out what happened. That's where the analytical part of your job comes into play if you were given responsibility for investigating the spending variances.